there guys, so today's video is going to be my April reading wrap up. We're going to talk about all the books that I managed to read in April. We read 24 books in April, so we're still keeping up our beyond 20 numbers, which is crazy, but again, I'm not working. I'm just trying to reorganize my life and find a job as quick as possible because honestly I'm getting a little bit tired of not working, but I've just been doing so much spring cleaning and reorganization and like hanging out with friends and reading and, just everything that I need to try and get done, doctor's appointments. And yeah, so we're just going to talk about the books that I read. We're also going to have to talk about yet another book that I DNF'd in April. So I've officially DNF'd 2 books this year, which is crazy. But for me, I'm not going to slump out reading a book that I don't want to finish. I'm not going to force myself to read books that I, just don't see myself wanting to find out what happens because I just don't care. Or there's something about it that just makes me not want to read it. And there's also 2 other books, though, that I should have DNF'd, and we're going to talk about those as well. They were both audiobooks, though, but, oh my god, they were both god-awful, and then there was one at the end of the month that I felt like I should have DNF'd too, because I almost fell into a reading slump. I'm not in a reading slump anymore because I've already finished 4 books in May. Crazy, I know. I just finished a book like an hour ago. But, and then we're also going to talk about the one reread that I did for April as well. So let's go into all the books that I read in April. So the first book that I read was our book club pick for April, and that is The Mad Wife by Megan Church. Now, I loved this book. I gave this book a 5 stars. Actually, most of the girls in my club really liked it too. And most of us have already read the book club pick for May, which was Best Offer Wins, which was in my TBR video. And we all really liked it so far for the girls that have read it. I think half of us have read it so far. But anyway, 5 of us read this book, and then we added 3 more girlies to the book club, so now there's 8 of us. So now they're all reading Best Offer Wins, and we might potentially be reading another book as well. I already finished the other book that we're thinking about reading as well, and I think everybody else is going to. So anyway, let's talk about April. Why am I talking about May? So this book is about a woman named Lulu, and basically she is suffering really bad postpartum depression after she has her second child, because she already has a son. I believe he's like 4 or 5 years old, and her husband is kind of like ignoring her, not really treating her well, because this is set in the 1950s, 1960s. Basically, that this was really inspired by like Levitt towns on Long Island, so that's why I chose it for my takes place in Long Island prompt. But I feel like this was very inspired by Long Island Levitt towns. And anyway, her husband basically is always working late, and she's always the one that has to take care of the baby and make dinner, clean, put food on the table, etc. But she's starting to, get a little bit tired and a little bit stir crazy from doing housework all the time. And women during this time, were always questioning, like, what if we could do more? What if we could work? What if it wasn't just the husband? Such a man's world still. And basically these neighbors move in across the street, and her name is Bitsy, and she thinks that her husband, Bitsy's husband, is abusing her. And Bitsy also has like 4 kids, and like these 2 kids are, there's 2 kids that don't live with them, but they never really talk about them. But anyway, things start to spiral for Lulu, and you have to read to find out why, and what the twist is, and whether or not she is actually going crazy or there's something else going on. So I loved it. I thought it was great. And yeah, I gave it a 5 stars. That's pretty much all I have to say about it because, I described mostly what it was about. So Yeah, it was really good. So the next book that I read, all next of the four books that I read, all came out on the same day in March. But I didn't have time to read them until the first week of April because I was finishing like a couple books that came out in the end of well, I didn't read any of them at the end of March, obviously. I read them in April. But I was feeling a little bit reading slumpy at the end of March as well. In April, I didn't feel slumpy at all until like the very last book that I read in April. But again, I think it was just the book, it wasn't me. But at the end of April, I was feeling I mean, the end of March, I was feeling like a little bit in a reading funk, but then I read these four books and then I was fine. So the next book that I read was, and I'll show this one, was Starside by Alex Astor, and this book is literally everywhere. Everyone is talking about it, like, you know, everyone and their mom is reading it. And basically this is about a girl named, what is her name? Aris. So she's competing like in not exactly like these trials, but like this tournament that she has to run across like this land in order to get to the other side so she can get the god's power. So it's kind of it was a very it was similar to a lot of, you know, typical popular romantasy books right now, like Fourth Wing and Direbound and Silver Flames, A Court of Silver Flames, and Quicksilver. I thought it was like a combination of all four of those books, but it was still a fun time. So like she encounters like a bunch of like magical creatures, like we got dragons, we got other magical like beasts, and she, you know, has to basically compete for the star side sword, and this sword has like, you know, great power, and that's why it's called Starside. But, you know, obviously she meets a shadow daddy, and his name is Harlan, and he's, you know, her enemy, and he is masked like the whole time that she's competing in these again, they're not typical trials. It's more so like just a tournament. Like there's not like, oh, you have to solve this riddle, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's basically like her getting through to the other side the whole time. Like she just encounters dragons and needs a dragon to help her get to the next like section of the land. It's not to like compete, like it's just competing with other what do you call them? Not contestants, other rivals to get across to the immortal power. So that's basically what it's about, but he is a masked man that won't really tell her like what he's about. Again, kind of felt similar to Fear the Flames for me, and you guys know that Fear the Flames is one of my all-time favorite romantasy series. So I feel like sometimes Alex Astor takes a lot of that inspiration, and it's almost a little bit too similar sometimes, but also like she does make her books fun. Like this was still a really fun read. There were some parts where I was laughing out loud. The smutty scenes were really good too. So I still really like her books. I don't care what people say. I think she's a good writer still. But there is a little bit of like a line between like, is it getting a little bit copycatty, or I feel like she's still making it like a fun like twist on it, but like also, you know, I understand inspiration, but also like it wasn't like that cliche though, because the twist at the end was really, really good. So I'm really excited to read the second one. I can't believe the second one is coming out later this year already. It's coming out in November, I think, and it's called Stormside, which everybody knew it was called Stormside. Like everybody and their mom knew the title of it already. And it's going to be 800 pages. Like ACOTAR's already going to be like 800 plus pages. Like why are they going to be so freaking long? So, but at least we have ACOTAR in October and then Stormside in November. I probably won't even read Stormside until December, to be honest. But anyway, it was good. I gave it a 3.85, not quite a 4-star because I wasn't really obsessed with it, but I still had a fun time reading it. Okay, so next up, I read The Faraway Inn by Sarah Beth Durst. I wasn't really intending on reading this sooner, But I did want to read this because she was doing a signing here for this book, and I was like incredibly sick at that point. It was only like 2 or 3 days after I got really sick, but I was able to go to the event, got my book signed, and she is literally just such a sweetheart. So this is now the second time I've met her, and she's just like such a gem in the author's world. Like, I just think she's hysterical. We had a really good conversation talking about The Faraway Inn, and I just really wanted to talk to her about the book. So basically, I just love Sarah Beth Durst's cozy fantasies. Like, they're never boring. They're always funny. They're always just cute and just such a cozy, warm. Her books are just a warm, like honey hug. I just love them so much. So this one is about a girl named Kalisa, and she wants to like get away from her family because she kind of needs like a bit of an escape for the summertime because she just broke up with her boyfriend in high school because he was cheating on her, which is so fucked up. Like, he was just kissing another girl, like, but that's still cheating. So that's really messed up, you know. So she wants to go find her great aunt, or is it or her grandma? I think it was her grandma. And her grandma runs this inn. And she, always wanted to get to know her grandmother better, but her grandmother has like kind of removed herself from her and her moms. Like, she has two moms, and her birth mom, basically, she doesn't really talk to her grandmother anymore because she felt that she was a little bit too obsessed with this running this inn because they obviously have like some kind of magical gifts, and Kalisa's never really believed in that. She didn't really think anything peculiar was going on, and then like when she gets to the inn, like these weird guests are staying at the inn, and she like finds out like what their deal is, and like her grandmother always tells her like, stop asking about the guests, you're not supposed to ask about them, because she won't really tell her anything because like she's super grumpy when she first gets there. But the innkeeper, like, he's the groundskeeper, I mean, what is his name? Doesn't say his name. I don't remember his name, but basically he is taking care of the inn when like the grandmother has to go away for something, and like also no, the grandmother's still there. His dad goes away for something, but he's been gone for like a while, and like it's kind of like a messed up reason as to why he left. So basically Kalisa has to figure out what's going on in this inn, but also like she has to figure out how to save it because it's getting old and run down, and her grandmother wants to retire. So she starts wanting to take care of it. So it was just really, really cute. And she ends up developing a romance with the groundskeeper, and I just ate it up. It was just so fucking funny. I just love her books. They're just so good. So I gave it a 4.25. And I will continue to read all of her books that she comes out with. Her next book is coming out in July, like towards the end of July. So like the summertime, there's not as many new releases coming out. Like May is insane. I actually just finished a new release today because there's 2 other books that came out yesterday, because yesterday was new release Tuesday, and so far I've only finished one of them because obviously they all came out yesterday. And I'm in the middle of reading one of the other ones that came out yesterday. But anyway, actually there's 4 that came out yesterday that I want to read. So far I've read 1 and I'm on the second one. So anyway, her next book comes out at the end of July for the 3rd book in the Spell Shop series, and it just sounds so cute, and I'm 100% reading it. But again, in June, there's only 3 new releases coming out, and then that are on my radar, and then July, I think there's only like maybe 5 or 6. I'm not really sure for July. I just looked at it for June. I was like, as long as June slows down, because May, there's like over 15 releases that I want to read. So Or maybe there's like 10 or 11. I can't remember, but we'll talk about that in June when we talk about my May wrap up. Okay. Then the next book that I read, I was in the mood for a thriller. So I decided to pick up Megan Lowley's new release, which was What We Did to Survive. And this one also came out on the same day as The Faraway End. I think they all came out March 25th. March 31st, excuse me. They all came out at the end, the very end of the month. So that's why I didn't read them till April 1st, because they all came out March 31st. So basically, I've read all of Megan Lowley's YA thriller releases, so this is the third one that she's released. And this one is about a girl named Emmy. And Emmy goes away with her best friend and her best friend's brother to Mexico for, I believe it's for spring break or the summer vacation, but they spend a week away there. And her best friend has always been this very impulsive girl. Like, honestly, her best friend was so insufferable for most of this book. Like, I wanted to, like, tear her hair out. She was so fucking annoying. But basically, her best friend wants to go on, like, this adventure in Mexico, and she finds, like, this guy, which ends up being totally the wrong, like, choice, but she finds this captain of this small boat to take them out in, like, this insanely unsafe storm, when no other boats are, like, you know, taking people out on the water. So she decides that she wants to go out on the boat. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm just talking to my book club girlies. So anyway, they decide to go out in this, like, unsafe storm, and they find out that the captain that takes them out is stinking madly drunk. So he is no help trying to save them from this storm. And then shit starts to go bad and unravel. And basically they get stuck on the boat together because obviously they're in, like, this crazy shipwreck. And they have to figure out how to survive to get back to the island. I liked this one, but I feel like that she is never going to have a better book than That's Not My Name. I was about to say What's My Name, because I feel like, you know, even though, yes, her books are YA, they're supposed to be YA thrillers, so they're supposed to be written a little younger, but That's Not My Name was, like, such a perfect, like, balance of thriller, of tragedy, of, like, it was just such an incredible book. It really was such an incredible book. But the reason why I read all of her books is because they're so bingeable. I actually think I liked No Place Left to Hide a little bit more than this one. I felt like this one was a little bit more juvenilely written, but it was still good. It was still bingeable, and I'll still read all of her books. So I think I gave this one a 3.85 as well. I still had a good time. Okay, then next up, this is one of the books that I should have DNF'd. I don't even know why the fuck I finished this book, because I thought that this book was going to be better than the second book in the series. But it was finishing a series for me, and I was kind of in the mood for a dark romance because I have barely read any dark romance this year. There's just been so many goddamn new releases that I haven't really read dark romance. I don't even remember the last one that I had read before this one. But I don't know. Probably Daggermouth, but that's a dark dystopian romance. So the next book that I read, well, the next book that I listened to, and this took me, like, quite a few days to get through because, like, I didn't even want to finish this book, but I was like, I want to finish it because I want to finish the series, and that is Game On by Navessa Allen. This book was actually really funny when it first started up till the middle, but you guys, I was so fucking bored with this book because there's like barely any, like, darkness to it. Basically, I felt like I was reading just a regular contemporary romance book. And I felt like Mental health is important. Of course it is. It's not a cop out, but I felt like the main male character was so mean to the female main character. And like sometimes in like dark romance books, the man is going to be mean, but like it's like in a sexy way, you know? And this one wasn't like insta smutty or insta lovey like Caught Up was. But I feel like this book was just a freaking mess. Like, and then I was waiting for like some of the dark things to happen. And then one of the reviewers said on Goodreads said that the darkest thing about this book is the trigger warnings. And I was like, I have to agree because literally nothing about this book was dark. Yes, like he did have a dark childhood and, you know, he struggled with his mom not really having a great upbringing. And he, like, you know, was just so mad at like the elitist rich people of society. And the female main character, what is her name? Jesus, I just totally hit the wrong button. So the main male character's name is Tyler, and the female main character's name is Stella. And Stella is part of like the elite, you know, rich people. And he is just so mad about how his mother was treated growing up that he basically wants to take it out on Stella. And he's just so fucking mean to her that honestly, I'm like, this was really fucking pissing me off because I understand why you're angry. I get that, but why are you taking it out on Stella? When apparently you've been in love with her for such a long time. But tell me why we don't find this out until the bonus chapters at the end. Because apparently he's been like stalking in love with her since Caught Up. And I'm not really spoiling anything because I'm like, why wasn't this like, it would have been like better if this was like a flashback in the beginning of the book. It kind of would have made a little bit more sense. But also like, I still don't think it would have added anything for me to the story because I simply just did not care anymore. I finished the book because, again, I wanted to finish the series and I thought it would be fun. But I feel like with this series, it's like a one-hit wonder kind of thing where neither of the other books were as good as Lights Out. And it's a shame because I really wanted to like this one and I thought I was going to like it more than Caught Up. I actually thought I was going to give this a 3-star, but it's still not as good as Lights Out, but I actually thought that Caught Up was a little bit darker because Caught Up was more so a mafia kind of dark romance, but it still had a bit more darker themes in it than this. This pissed me off so much towards the end because, like, apparently Tyler is bisexual, and that is the reason why it's a dark romance. I'm like, that doesn't make it a dark romance, like, just because they want to have a threesome with somebody. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, it felt like she was kind of making fun of, like, those dark romance tropes, and not in a good way. Like, there's a way to, like, poke fun at these things, but not when it's, like, done in the way where it's, like, I don't know, it's just, like, she was trying to make it a bisexual / like, wide shoes kind of thing. And it didn't really work for me. So, no, I gave this a 2 stars. I almost gave it a 1 star, but I'm like, I finished it. So, usually the only books I don't, that I rate 1 star are books that I don't finish now, but also books that are just literally fucking atrocious. Like, I did have 1 star last year and 1 star the year before when I pushed through those 2 books that I should have DNF'd too, but I don't even feel like talking about this book anymore because it was awful. So next up, I read my favorite book that I read in the new releases that I read in April. That came out again in March. This one actually came out March 24th. So this was the only one that came out the 24th of March. All the other ones came out the 31st. And that is Beneath by Ariel Sullivan. Again, everyone and their mom was reading this book as well. So there was a lot of popular books that came out. And so there was Starside, Beneath, and then there's another one that I'm going to talk about that I hated. But this one, I loved this book. This book was such a step up from Conform. I cannot believe how much better written this book was. Not that Conform was a bad book. I just felt like it was very predictable and kind of cliche when it comes to like the romantic dystopian genre. But this, oh my God, this was so fucking good. I gave this a 4.5 stars. So this one is about a girl named Sasha, and she's in love with a man named Tristan Hayes. It was a little bit similar to Silver Elite, not gonna lie, but this definitely explored a lot of dark topics, especially grief. So basically, it's like, post-apocalyptic kind of setting where humans now need to live underground, and that's why it's called Beneath, because if they come up to the surface, they can't really survive that long, because like a lot of places are like uh uninhabitable, and there was like a nuclear apocalypse, so a lot of things are, taken over by radiation. It's kind of similar to Fallout, like the video game, and like me and my best friend watched that. It's actually very similar to Fallout. I didn't realize it was that similar, because they all live underground because they can't live above the surface, because there's like, ghouls that overtake the surface and like zombies. But like this doesn't have that, but like it's unsafe to go up on the surface because other units will kill you. And again, it's a little bit similar to Hunger Games in that way, but she somehow makes it her own. And Sasha is unique because, I don't want to say special because like I feel like that's so cheesy sometimes. She's unique because she is able to survive like basically any kind of like pandemic or medical disease that occurs, or infections. Like she is basically immune to everything. And her nickname is the Angel of Death, because she has basically watched like all of the people that she knows pass away from these horrible diseases, and she's the only one that's surviving. So she refuses to get close to the people in her unit. She refuses to get close to anyone because she is so afraid that she's going to lose them. So it just makes it so sad. And Tristan is basically their unit leader. Oh my God, their relationship, like, it's not like a cheesy romantic relationship, which sometimes I obviously eat that up. They really cared about each other. It felt like very similar to like the relationship of Daggermouth, but not as strong of an enemies to lovers. This was just purely because she was so afraid of losing people that she cared about. She didn't want to fall in love with anybody, but she couldn't deny her feelings for him. And it was just so fucking well done. I cannot wait for book 2 in this. And the way that this ends, oh my God, not that many people die, but the twist at the end on where they end up is wild. So I am so excited to see what happens in the second book, because I feel like it's going to be very unhinged and a lot of shit is going to happen. And I feel like quite a few people are going to die. So good. So excited for the second book. Okay, and then next up, I read another new release that came out April 7th. I finished this in a day. I swear, I finished her books so fucking quickly. And that is the second book to Watch Me, which is Release Me by Tahira Mafi. And this is the second book in the New Republic series, which is the spin-off book to the Shatter Me series. The spin-off series. So this one is about Rosabelle and James again. And they basically, like, Rosabelle is still wanting to assassinate James. But I feel like this book wasn't really centralizing on their romance that much. I feel like we had very little scenes of them together. The reason why I liked this, basically that's all that happens, but also Aaron and Juliet are possibly having their baby. And if you haven't read Shatter Me by this point, I'm sorry that this is spoilery, but it is an older series, so I'm going to get a little spoilery because I can't really talk about it unless I talk about Aaron and Juliet. I'm not even saying her real name, so um Aaron is now worried about giving birth to their first child because Juliet is having like a bit of issues with her pregnancy, and she's been like really fatigued, but like not in a normal kind of way. And we do get POVs from Warner, James, and Rosabelle. But also like we're getting crumbs of like everybody's relationship and not really, it was very slow moving for their relationships, but I still enjoyed the banter in this book because Tara Mafi's banter and her found family is literally top tier. Because some of the parts where like James has to like take Rosabelle to his friends because Warner thinks that Rosabelle is such a danger to them, like similar to Juliet and Shatter Me. Like basically it's almost the same plot as Shatter Me. It's not really that much different. But I do think Watch Me was better. But she thinks that he thinks that she's such a danger that he thinks that she's gonna kill like everybody else besides James. And basically, oh god, sorry. There's like this one part where James has to take Rosabelle away from like Warner's lab and stuff because he's like, please give me another chance, blah blah blah, and he takes her back to like one of his friends' apartments, and the banter of what they are trying to do with her is fucking hysterical. I was laughing so hard. So I was like, I don't even care if I like this book that much because she still keeps you entertained in these books, but also like I feel like not much happened in this book. I feel like there was a lot of middle book syndrome that this book was suffering because the third book is coming out in freaking September. Okay? When I thought that This Woven Kingdom was supposed to come out, the fifth book in This Woven Kingdom was supposed to come out in like September or October, but she pushed that back. Not that I care because I don't like that series. But the third book, it's not even on my want to read, but I posted it on my Instagram when I saw that it was coming out in September, and it's called Escape Me. And I'm like, Tara, how are you having two of them come out this year? So yet another romantasy book that's coming out later this year. So I think I rated this a 4.25. I feel like I should have lowered it a bit, but it still would have been a 4-star anyway on Goodreads. But it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but we still have like 5 billion books to talk about. So let's go into the next one. So the next one that I read was actually a book that, well, the next one I'm going to talk about after this is just a reread, so I don't have to like, drone on about it. So next up is an arc that I read that actually was sent to me by NetGalley, and I think the publisher also sends them to you. From then, it's not one that I had requested. Hold on one second. Okay, then next up we read the arc that I was telling you guys about, which is Don't Tell Me How It Ends by Adrian Thurman. Now, this one was a debut adult novel from Adrian Thurman. I believe that she was, hopefully I'm saying that right, maybe it's Thurman. I'm not really sure. But she has written, I think, 2 other children's books, and that's it. This is like her first adult book. And I loved this. I thought this book was fucking hysterical. It was just such a fun time, and I really had such a good time reading it. So this book is about a woman named Kaya, and she basically has sworn off like dating and love. And she basically didn't really grow up with a father. Her mother was kind of totally distraught and heartbroken after her father left them. And she has a sister, so it's her sister, and her mother, and he basically just up and left them, and she was left to raise them on her own. And he has never really been there for their family. And basically, her mom, basically, all of them have an issue with finding men. And her mom, like, just dates, like, these random men and never really, she acts like completely heartbroken every time, like, it doesn't work out, which, it does suck, but she doesn't really pick people that, like, that she should, start a life with. And then her sister is pregnant from the guy that left her because he didn't want a baby or something like that. I don't remember if he was cheating on her or not. And then Kaya, like I said, she just doesn't want to try and be in a relationship at all because she doesn't believe in really finding someone because she thinks that it's just going to end. So she has to go back to live with her mom and her sister because she is actually really struggling with finding a job, and she can't really afford anything. She can't afford the rent on her apartment anymore. She had just lost her job too. So she's like, what could go wrong if I decide to go back and move in with them? And, she still loves them. Like, she still loves her sister. She still loves her mother. But her mother can be a little bit insufferable because, all she talks about is, like, the men that she breaks up with. But this, like, kind of brings them closer together because I think Ro is her sister. Yes. Right? No, Ro is the love interest. Sorry. The sister had, like, a matchmaking business before. And she basically doesn't have, like, she was working for this other woman's matchmaking business, but now she decides to start her own. And guess who's her first client? Kaya. So Kaya's like, no, fuck no, I don't want to do this. And she's like, but please do this for me, like, and it's just fucking hysterical. So there's this guy named Ro that she keeps on running into because he is actually a tow truck worker. And she, has, like, this really funny, like, banter with him. And she keeps on running into him, and he makes, like, a joke about, like, him just being a tow truck man. And she's like, I'm not going to apologize for it, and blah, blah, blah. It's just, like, really funny. And then obviously, like, her sister keeps on trying to, like, set her up on, like, different dates, but she needs to realize that Ro is obviously her perfect man. And it's just the way that they end up getting together. It's just, I loved it. It was so good. I gave this a 4.5 stars, so not exactly a 5-star. I almost thought it would be, but it was just so good. I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then next up, I did my reread. Again, I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but I wanted to read The Rose Bargain again by Sasha Payton Smith before The Thorn Queen came out because I did get the arc for The Thorn Queen. So I just re-listened to the audiobook for this, and it was so much fun the second time as well. I think I gave this a 4.5 again. Yeah, I gave it a 4.5, so I'm not going to go into it again because a lot of people have read this book already. Basically, it's like the selection that met Bridgerton. So the next book, like I said, that I read was The Thorn Queen by Sasha Payton Smith, which was the arc of the second book, and I really wanted to read this one. Basically, this one concentrates on a lot of the romantic relationships that go on in the first book. And they also have to figure out, like, how to stop, like, the Fae Queen's trials that go on in the first book because they want, humans to live kind of civilly with the Fae. And if you guys know anything about Fae lore, or if you've read Fae fantasies before, is that Fae only want to bargain with humans. And that's why the first book is called The Rose Bargain. So this book really goes into King Bram and Ivy. And Ivy is, married to him and goes through, like, what their relationship is about. I can't really say too much on what happens with them because it's a little bit spoilery, and also it goes into Lydia and Emmett's relationship. they end up going into the other world, which is the Fae realm. And they have to go through a series of not trials, but like a couple of games that they have to figure out before they're able to really like because like this is kind of like the queen that's, you know, putting these games together again. But it was kind of very disjointed and messy the way that this was written and done. And I felt like I wasn't really like, as soon as like a game started, I felt like it was finished already because I was like, oh, was that the game? Like there, it wasn't really that well explained. They were unique, but it just felt like there wasn't really a point to them. And I feel like that it also dwelled a little bit too long of the relationships of the first book. And it was just a little bit messy. And but it was a very fast read, and I think I still gave it a 4 stars. I feel like I might lower it a little bit because again, it wasn't, but it was still very fast paced. It was kind of similar to my experience of like Release Me. Then it was like, okay, is there like a point to this? But also I feel like that this series could have been a trilogy, I feel like, because I feel like we could have explored a little bit more and expanded it a bit more if this was a trilogy. And the thing is that with duologies, they have to feel like they're complete, you know? With this, I still feel like this was complete, but I feel like she was trying to jam pack like so many things into this book just so it would end, if you know what I mean. So I still really enjoyed it, but I really can't say too much unless you read it. But that was just my experience with it. Okay. Then next up, I did not like the sequel literally at all. I actually wasn't even intending on continuing this series, but for some reason, I decided to pick up this one. And I just listened to the audiobook because I did really enjoy the audiobook listening to the first one. So I decided to listen to Right to the Starling by Devney Perry. I don't know why I tried to listen to this. I just was so fucking beyond bored most of the time because tell me why literally almost nothing happens in this entire fucking 500-page book. Like, I don't even care about the third book. I don't think I'm going to finish the series because I don't want to end up hating the third book like I did with the Into Darkness series. Like some series, just because there's only one book left doesn't mean I have to suffer through finishing it. So this one basically I don't even know if I want to talk about it because literally nothing happens. I gave this a 2 stars. Again, I almost gave it a 1 star because I kept on waiting to see the creatures that we found in the first book. Even if it did pick up from when the first book ended, but I just didn't care. So, and it's not like I didn't like the first book. I actually enjoyed the first book quite a bit. But I thought that the female main character was like insufferable. Not till like towards the end of the first book, but anyway, we don't have to talk about the first book because if you haven't read it at this point, you know, I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to be too spoilery. So anyway, what's her name? I have to figure out what the fuck we're eating for dinner too, so, but of course I'm the only one that fucking cares about it. Because, you know, it's fucking World War III when we figure out what the fuck we're eating. How many books have I talked about so far? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're almost halfway through. So we'll get halfway through and maybe I'll film the rest later. So basically, she is separated from her love interest. I don't even remember their fucking names at this point. It doesn't even say her name. I don't even care. It's a 2-star. I really don't even feel like talking about it because I don't even know how to describe how boring this book was. Basically, they're trying to figure out how to get rid of this um, a disease that's infecting people with becoming monsters. And that's basically the whole fucking book. It also takes place from another character's POV that we get where she is actually capable of transforming into some kind of wolf. And she is with her sister or cousin, I believe. And something happens to her cousin or whatever, whoever the fuck it is, that she has to like find shelter and like survive on her own. And then she finds this guy and ends up stumbling into his cabin. And then all of a sudden they're fucking in love because they want to like fuck each other by like the next day. And I was like, okay, way to be super insta lusty. And then with the two main characters, they're separated until almost 50% of the book that I'm like, okay, like when the fuck are they going to be reunited? And that's like a lot of trouble with like journey type of books where there's like some type of voyage and they have to go on a ship and whatever. Like that happens in Metal Slinger and Bridge Kingdom. With Bridge Kingdom, there's so much balance between like the action and the journeys and the romance that it works. And that's why that's one of my favorite series ever. But with this, I don't understand why there was barely any action in this book. I'm like, is there going to be another attack? And then they just ended up focusing on how the fuck they're going to cure everyone. And that was the only thing that they focused on. And mind you, her love interest is, you know, one of the, like monsters. Like he was in the first book is being one of the most powerful warriors because he's able to transform into this monster and he has like the monster blood in his veins and they have to use him in order to figure out how they're going to cure everyone. And then all of a sudden they like stabilize it and that's it. And like that's all that happens. And I was like, tell me why I wasted my fucking time. So that's it. That's what happens in the book. And then, like, the side storyline with the other character didn't even really add anything to the story. And I don't care if there was, like, so many Easter eggs or blah, blah, blah or something. It's all about execution for me, usually with fantasy books. And if I'm going to lose interest or if I'm fucking bored, then sorry, I don't care about the Easter eggs that are in it because it just wasn't good. So, yeah. Okay, next up, I read one of my favorite romances that I read this month. I think it was my only 5-star romance in May. I think so. Yeah, it was. And that is Happy Ending by Chloe Lizzie. I don't even know how you say her name. I freaking loved this book, you guys. This was a best friends to lovers, and this was about a guy named Alex and a woman named Thea. And basically they have been best friends for like a really long time. And they both get left from their significant other. So it was kind of similar to Funny Story. But this was like so much more well done. Because they don't just like move in with each other. Because it's like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I mean, it kind of makes sense for them to be roommates. But they... Okay, guys, let's finally continue on with this wrap up. So let's get into Happy Ending by Chloe Lizzie, whatever. So I started describing what the book was about. So basically, Alex has a daughter with his ex-wife, and his ex-wife starts dating her ex-husband, like Thea's ex-husband, so that somehow they get together. But it made like a lot more sense in this book as opposed to Funny Story, because the way that Thea and Alex meet is so funny. So basically Thea wants to go like stomp into her ex's house and basically like, you know, stand her ground. Oh, she wants to get her dog from him because she's like, you know, he's my dog and I can't believe that, you know, you think that it's your dog. So she wants to go claim her dog. But Alex is going there to pick up his daughter. And like the two of them are standing outside like talking to each other. They're like, "Oh my god, who are you?" And like the conversation that they have is just really funny. And then their exes come out of the house and they're like, "What the fuck are you guys doing, like talking to each other?" And the ex-wife is like complaining about that Alex is late picking up his daughter, and she's like, "If you weren't like talking to her, maybe you would have been on time." And we're like, "What the fuck?" So, but like Alex's daughter like absolutely adores her dad. So, like she can't wait to see him, but she, obviously loves her mom too. So they're trying to like figure out like that dynamic of having divorced parents, and also Thea's trying to figure out like where she fits in to Thea and Alex's like life with her daughter. So, with his daughter, I mean. And it was just so fucking cute. I thought this book was just so funny. It was a very slow burn, though, a little bit excruciating until the very end. But honestly, the payoff was so worth it for me because I thought that I just loved the banter and the two of them together, that it just gave me all of the warm fuzzies. It was a bit similar to People We Meet on Vacation, but it's not like they traveled together all the time. So something happens with, I mean, the two exes end up wanting to get married. So they ask Alex and Thea to go to like this destination wedding. So that's why it's similar to like Funny Story, but it's not like where they both get invites. There's like this email that Thea gets that's like kind of buried somewhere, but obviously, and it was sent out, I believe, by Thea's mother, but she said that she did it like totally by accident, but they end up wanting to go because they want to have like some kind of vacation. So they all go, and then that's when they start like really realizing their feelings for each other. But the reason why Thea doesn't confess how she feels with Alex is because, she doesn't want to ruin like their friendship. So she kind of just buries her feelings. And there was so many times where they came close to telling each other how they feel, but she's like constantly like friend zoning Alex. So it's just, I don't know. I know it was similar to People We Meet on Vacation, but it's not like, again, that they traveled everywhere. I ate it up. I gave it a 5 stars. I thought it was so cute. And this was my first 5-star of the month besides The Mad Wife, which was the first one that I gave. And then I had another 5-star. I don't care what anybody says about this book. I freaking loved this book. And I read Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. I am absolutely eating up the show, and I wanted to read the book right before the show came out, so I did. And I gave this a 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. I understand why this book is popular. So basically, Margot is a child of a Hooters waitress and an ex-pro wrestler. And she does have a really good childhood, but she basically grows up with an absentee father because her father is struggling with drugs, struggling with alcohol, and he just like ups and leaves her mom and her to have her mom raise her on her own. But her mother has never really been like the best kind of mom. Like, I think she used to leave her there when she would work, and she didn't really have anybody to watch her. I don't remember if that happened in this book. That might have been a different book. It might be full of shit. That might have been in Red City. I don't think she did that. But anyway, so Margot has always had like kind of a skewed view of like what would be like a right relationship for her. She's never really been in like a serious relationship with someone. And then she all of a sudden gets knocked up by her college professor because her college professor expresses that she's like the best student in the class and she has like the best papers. And, he is married though and has children. And he decides to fuck her. And she ends up, oh my God, can I speak? He ends up getting her pregnant. So she ends up having the baby. But she's a struggling college student. She doesn't have money to have a baby, but she doesn't want to she wants to keep the baby. So she has to find a way to make money. And that's why uh the book is called Margot's Got Money Troubles, if I could speak English. But also her mother, like, won't babysit the baby for her because she thinks that, like, it's just, like, a huge mistake that she has made. Even though, like, her mother's, like, selectively there the child, she does not approve of her keeping it. But also, her father ends up coming back into Margot's life because he is incredibly lonely, being like a recovering addict and alcoholic. He has seen like all of the texts that Margot has left him to come back to be in her life because she's like, it's an emergency and I really need you. And he comes back and he ends up moving in with her to take care of the baby. And he basically doesn't have anywhere else to go after he gets out of rehab either. But he just wants to be there for his daughter. And I could talk about this book forever, but I freaking loved this book. I am absolutely loving the show. This is one of the most truest adaptations of a TV show for a book that I've ever seen. It is so ridiculously accurate to the book. And I absolutely love Elle Fanning and Michelle Pfeiffer and the guy that plays her father. They are all just fucking perfect for the roles. Michelle Pfeiffer is such a trip in this role. She's fucking hysterical. And the author actually said, why am I yelling? The author actually said before she came out with the audiobook that she was dying to get Elle Fanning to record the audiobook because she already knew that Elle Fanning was going to be the role of Margot before the book even got published, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe when it got published and that it was getting an adaptation, she said she always pictured Elle Fanning as being Margot. So anyway, they got her to do the audiobook, and the audiobook is spectacular. If you end up reading this, I highly suggest you listen to it because the audiobook is amazing. But it was just so good, and I don't really understand why people give this a negative review just because it mentions TikTok a few times, because she ends up having to have an OnlyFans in order to pay her bills because that's the only thing that's going to get her bills paid, and her whole family doesn't approve because it's such a short book, but it's such an important book to read, and there's so much to talk about in it because it's so thought-provoking. Her whole family thinks that it's pornography. When she's like, it's not pornography, it's just, not showing my face, and it's not really, like, exposing, much unless those people pay for those certain things. I mean, I'm a little bit on the fence about OnlyFans, but hey, if it gets her money and gets her bag, that's her decision, it's not affecting me. But anyway, and she's a totally fictional character. So, but yeah, I really liked it. And also her mother is remarrying this like super Christian she's marrying a pastor, so obviously he's super Christian. And her mom like has to change like everything that she like does to sin according to him, because she doesn't drink with him. She also doesn't gamble because she's a huge gambler. But she's never had like a huge gambling problem to not like I think she's marrying him though for financial stability. So it's just, and Greg Kinnear as the pastor is hysterical. He is so perfect for the role too. It's just such a good book. There's so much that happens, and also her mother won't watch the baby when she has to find like a job because obviously she needs to pay her bills, like I said before. But she tries to like go back to the waitressing job that she had. And her mom won't help her because she's like, I can't do it. I can't babysit him. Maybe I'm too selfish, but he won't stop crying. So it's just, oh my God, it was just such a great book. And then there's even more that happens, but I'm not going to, go into the entire plot of the book because you need to read it for yourself. But the whole TikTok thing, I don't know why that makes people rate a book lower why is it such a big deal if TikTok is mentioned in a book? As long as it's not like in every single fucking chapter. I'm just going to go on a rant real quick, but why is it that irks people so much when TikTok is the number one app in the entire world? You spend half of your fucking day on TikTok, but it irks you if it's in a book? Like, I just don't really understand that mentality. Like, and these are like half the people that are huge on TikTok, like Larry Reeds and Mariana Moore and etc. And they say that they don't love that those references are in books. And it's like, but they talk about how much they doom scroll on TikTok constantly. And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be using it then. Like, obviously they shouldn't be. Like, I love Larry, but also, like, I feel like that shouldn't take away from the book. For me, what irks me about a book is if, why is it that every single romance book has to mention fucking Taylor Swift? Why do we have to mention Taylor Swift in order to be a romance book? That's what fucking annoys me. I was like, does she have to be in every single contemporary romance book? No. But do they feel like they have to mention her because she's the biggest star on the planet? Yes. I don't care if she's mentioned in like a playlist or like in the beginning of a chapter where like the song relates to the scene. That's different because that's setting the scene for the reader. But like for her to be name dropped in every single book, I'm getting so fucking sick of it. So that's what bothers me. Not the TikTok references. Like, I don't even use TikTok like that, but it does not fucking bother me. If you guys know, if you're going to continue using the app, why does it bother you? So, sorry, rant over. It just really bothers me. You're going to lower the rating just because of that? That's ridiculous. So, anyway, as long as it's not like ad nauseum, why does it bother you? So, it just really irks me. So then, the next one that I read was The Wicked Sea by Jordan Stephanie Gray. And I actually wasn't intending on reading this one. I did read a couple more books on my TBR, but then I kind of mood read a bit for the rest of April because I didn't want to slump out, and there was a couple of books that I really just wanted to read. I didn't put this on my official TBR, but I really just wanted to read this book. And I really liked this one. So this one was a bit cliche as well, but I loved their banter. So this is about the mermaid Zephyrah, something like that, and Syl. And Zephyrah obviously is a mermaid, and Syl is a warlock. And the warlocks have basically been taught their whole lives that mermaids are their enemy. And the mermaids are actually trying to get their side heard because they are not actually like the way that they are described in like myths and legends, and the way that these that humans and warlocks and other magical creatures have been taught that mermaids are evil. So something happens where Zephyrah and Syl are basically bound to each other, and they have to work together in order to not be killed or die. Like, they cannot break this bond if they decide to kill the other person, because then they both die. And it was just, I loved that concept. It was just so fun. This book was so ridiculously bingeable. And there was so many like sea creature attacks, and she has to save his life before they even like know that they're bound, because she knows if she doesn't save him, she knows that she needs him. She ends up lying to him about, taking him somewhere in order for him to help her with something. And just their banter was so funny. And then the sex scenes were hot. The smutty scenes were smuttying. They were fun. And oh my God, the twist at the end for this one too, so good. So I'm one of the few that really enjoyed Bitten, so I had a feeling I was really going to enjoy this book, and I did. I gave it a 4.25 stars, and also the book, I just have to show you guys this book, because this book is fucking stunning. and I had to keep it just because it was so beautiful. And I finally bought more book storage for myself, so now I'll be able to show off some of these books a little bit more. But literally, look at this cover. Like, look at this. And for some reason, my book girlies didn't say anything when I was reading this at the Silent Book Club meeting, but look at this end paper art. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And look at this naked hardback. Are you joking? And her books are always stunning. Like, stunning. Bitten is gorgeous, too. And these are the back end papers. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's fucking gorgeous. So, anyway, loved it. I think I gave it a 4.25. Or just a 4-star. But I had such a great time. So, oh my god, the twist at the end. I cannot wait for the second book. I'm so excited. And obviously, they start developing a romance. But the book is so good. And then they have like this, I can't even really mention that much about the God of Death, but basically like the God of Death ends up deceiving everybody, and she ends up having to work with him as well. And it's just so well done. It was so much fun. Okay, so next up, I read probably the weirdest book that I've read this month, but also, like, I didn't really understand this book that much. So the next book that I read was The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser. And this was the first book that I read for my TBR takedown video that you guys will see soon. When I finally read Daughter of the Moon Goddess is when I'll post that video. So I've seen, like, pretty low ratings for this author's books. So, but this book I haven't had too long. I've only had it for like maybe 8 months or so. I mean, that's still a while, but there's some books I've had for literal years that I still haven't picked up. Like The Honey Witch, I finally am reading it, and I'm like 60% of the way through, and I've had that book almost 3 years at this point. I've had it since like August or September of 2024, so that's a while, okay? So anyway, this book is about Thea. Why are there so many characters named Thea in romance books? I did not realize she had the same name as the main character in Happy Ending. And the male main character's name is Edward. Yeah. So basically, Thea has to break up with her, I think her husband, actually. She's getting divorced from her husband because her husband is cheating on her. And that's basically what happened in Happy Ending too. But that was a lot more well done and better executed in this book. So she decides to move to, I believe, Scotland, because I think she's English. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She moves away to like another country, and she decides that she wants to start working for like this grumpy bookshop owner. And he's not that mean to her. It's not like Game On, where like he's completely like so obnoxious to her that you don't understand why they wouldn't be together. I liked some of the scenes with them. I wasn't obsessed with their chemistry because honestly there wasn't much of it. But basically, I don't know. I don't want to go on a rant about this book, but once she starts working for him, because she like keeps on coming into his shop and like annoying him, and those parts were funny. But then after she moves in with him, this book like kind of takes a weird, honestly icky turn with the male main character's storyline. And he like is a bit of a man whore, which, and a womanizer, which honestly, like, if it wasn't the way that it was done in this book, I probably wouldn't have had an issue with them getting together, because, you know, she's the woman that finally makes him settle down, and I thought that's what it was going to be. But it turns out that his brother, he decides to fuck everyone that his brother sleeps with for revenge, because his brother decides to steal away one woman that Edward liked when they were like younger. And I think he ends up like, I don't remember why, because honestly I was just like so shocked by that twist. I was like, why is there a twist like this in a contemporary romance book? But okay. And then he's like, yeah, I hate fuck all of my brothers' exes, and also I'm the other man in some of these, but I'll never cheat on somebody else. Like, he'll sleep with his brother's wife. And then they ended up getting divorced or something. I'm like, huh? So you're a homewrecker? But you said that you would never sleep with somebody else to cheat on them. Like, if you were in a relationship with somebody, you wouldn't cheat on the woman that you're with. So that makes you a good man? I was like, huh? What am I reading? I was like, I expected like just a cozy, easy bookshop romance. No. But I really liked the writing. She's a good writer. But I'm like, why is this in here? It would have been fine if like maybe he did it like once and then like learned his lesson and that's what made him and his brother stop talking to each other. No, he did it like constantly. And then he has to like convince her as to why they should be together. And I kind of liked that they were going to be together because there were some cute moments that they had together, but I could not get over that. He's like, yeah, I slept with his wife, and then they got or his ex-wife. I can't remember which one it is, but it's still so fucking icky. And also, like, why are you sleeping with his sloppy seconds? Which is even fucking weirder. And also, that's her family. Huh? What? It was just so weird because it was like literally, again, if you did it once, then I feel like you would learn your lesson, but why would you constantly do that to you? And then you expect your brother to talk to you again? I'd be like, you go fuck yourself go fuck other women. Don't fuck the women that I've been with. That's like so fucked up. It was like some rando guy. That would be different. All right, I'm just going to stop talking about it because I don't even care anymore. I gave it a 3 stars. I was thinking about a 2.75, but I didn't hate it. So I didn't really understand how I felt about it. Because again, I wasn't bored with it, but also I didn't like that storyline at all. So yeah, it was just weird. Okay, anyway, the next one that I read for my TBR takedown video, which I end up reading one of Kristen Hanna's books in almost every single one. I think in every single TBR takedown video that I've done at this point this year. But it's really been helping me get through all of her most popular books. So the last one that I had to read that was one of her most popular books was The Four Winds. So I finally picked up this book in April, and oh my god, 5 stars. I mean, I really can't say anything else about the genius that this woman writes. Like I've said before, now since I've read 3 of her books this year very close together, there are a bit of similar storylines that she does use for her main characters. And her main character is always a woman, obviously. But they work so well. And there always ends up being like something else that happens towards the end that's like completely different from like the other books. So anyway, this one is about the Great Depression, and this one takes place from the female perspective, or the main female character's perspective of Elsa. And Elsa is, desperate for somebody to actually love her and care about her because her parents have always been in like a troubled marriage, and her dad has been like, I don't remember if he was abusive or not, but he kind of treated them like shit, but her mom has always stayed like loyal to her father, but Elsa like doesn't want like that life for herself. She wants like a better life. But she decides that she wants to have her virginity taken away. And, like, her mom is, obviously back then you didn't do that as a woman. And, like, her dad, like, slaps her in the face. And he's like, you're not our daughter anymore. We want to disown you. But, like, her mother wanted to be, she's like, I'm never going to support this baby, and, I disapprove and blah, blah, blah. But the man that this woman got, that Elsa got impregnated by, his parents decide to be there for her, like his mom. So anyway, she ends up marrying him, and she has to, obviously make a life for them. And but since it's the Great Depression, she has to, they all have to work, they all have to make money, and obviously they can't make anything to scrape money together to like survive. So I believe this takes place in Tennessee? No, Texas. So like everybody thinks like that the Renaissance state is California. So as her daughter gets older, and then I think they have a son as well. I think they have a daughter and a son. Um, she constantly like is on her dad's side for everything, and says that the only reason why we're in Texas still is because of like their mother, and she won't let them go to California. And this like creates a lot of tension between the two of them, that they end up like hating each other. And basically that's what happens, and the husband decides just to up and leave because he can't handle um like this overwhelming feeling of needing to work, and also he becomes an alcoholic because everybody's struggling at this point. So anyway, let me just put it on do not disturb again. So anyway, they end up moving to California, and there's a lot of California is not perfect at all, and there's a lot of things that are still wrong with being there, but Elsa, no matter what, even though she's never really found anyone that will truly be with her and love her, I mean, even though she loves her children unconditionally, she will do anything to help her family and do everything for her family. So it really was a powerful story. And I thought this was going to be similar to like my experience with The Women, which is my least favorite Kristen Hanna book, but it's still a great book. But this one got me in the end, and I did cry in the end of this one. So I think I've cried in every single Kristen Hanna book except for The Women, because that one just didn't do it for me. And this one was only from Elsa's perspective, so I thought I was going to get a little bit bored, and I was not bored at all. It was just really well done. She's a fantastic writer, and the end of this is very sad, so I can understand why this one is so popular, obviously. Okay, I still have like 5 or 6 more books to talk about, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. More like 8. So we're going to try and speed this up a little bit. So the next book that I read was The Crimson Crown by Heather Walter, and this is the first book in the Crimson Crown duology. The second book actually comes out in August, which is my birthday month. And I finally decided to pick this up. This book has been on my TBR probably for at least a year and a half, so this was the next one that I picked up for my TBR takedown. So I read 3 of them in a row. Pat myself on the back. Well, those are the only 3 that I read in April. So sometimes like my TBR takedowns go into the next month. So I can read like 4 or 5 books at least. And I really liked this. I gave this a 4.25. So basically this is the story of the evil queen from Snow White. And she is in a coven of witches with her mother. And her mother always like wants her to, what is her name? Her name is Aelith. Her mother always wants her to do like everything that she wants her to do for her. And Aelith keeps on like protesting, like, I'm not going to do that. But also Aelith doesn't have any magical abilities at this current moment in time and in the beginning of the book. But she doesn't want to tell anyone because obviously that's like super embarrassing for her to be the queen's daughter and she has no magical powers. So she is actually going to be like initiated into her coven that night, like the first night that we go into in the book. And she has a dead sister, and she has to cross the veil in order to be initiated. Well, actually, she's not supposed to cross the veil. She's just supposed to be initiated into the coven. And there's like this veil that you're supposed to like not, you're supposed to like see it, but you're not supposed to go like into it. And that becomes the magic mirror, which is so fucking cool. It happens like at the, towards like the, it's not a spoiler because that's what the, the whole legend is about. I mean, the Grim Tale. And that happens like later on in the book. It's just like so cool the way it happens. So basically she decides to go into the veil because she hears her dead sister's name calling her. And I mean, her sister calling her name. And she tries to tell her mother that she saw her dead sister, and she slaps her in the face, and she's like, you're not supposed to do that. Basically, they're not supposed to like mess with the dead. So Aelith decides that she's going to go into the veil and like not listen to her mother anymore, and she just goes to find her sister. And she ends up encountering like a bunch of different people and a bit of magical creatures in the veil. And it was like kind of a little bit like Alice in Wonderlandy, but this was really good. And I'm so glad that I've been reading like more like Grim Tale retellings this year. And like now I've read 3. I've read this Splinter, which was the Alice in Wonderland one. Then I read this one because it was Snow White. And I also read Seven Deadly Thorns, which was also a spin on Snow White. And they were all really good. I really enjoyed all 3 of them. This one, I felt like it took a little too long to get to the romance part because this was a sapphic romance, but there was only one scene of who she wanted to be with. So the woman she was with, she meets back in the veil. I forget her name. And she basically like had to leave her one night because her mother, pretends to be Aelith to send her love away. And they end up finding each other again, but, they hate each other because they thought that the other one left because they thought that they didn't care about each other. Like, both of them thought that same thing. But then, they finally decide that they find out that it was her mother pretending to be Aelith, so they end up being back together. And it was only for like one scene and then that was it. But that wasn't until like 300 pages in. I'm like, okay, that felt like really rushed. But besides that, the plot and the fantasy and everything was so good. So I'm so excited to read the second book. So I'm happy that I read it now. And then like the rest of it, I don't want to talk about because it's going to be too spoilery. But I think I gave it a 4 stars or like a 4.25. Yeah, 4.25. So good. Okay, next up, I read just a thriller on my Kindle because I was dying to read something on my Kindle because I had read like quite a few physical books. I'm like, I just need something on Kindle Unlimited, and I just need a quick, fast-paced thriller because I don't think I was slumping. I just felt like I wanted, because I hadn't read a thriller like the whole month. So I finally decided to pick up On a Quiet Street by Serafina Nova Glass. So this was a complete mood read for me, and this was a domestic thriller. I find that domestic thrillers are becoming like some of my favorite thrillers. And this is basically like Desperate Housewives, but like it's not like as like clean cut. Like not all of them are like completely perfect women, which that's like one of my favorite shows. So if you guys love Desperate Housewives, you need to read this book. Okay? This book was so good. So basically, this book is about 3 different women that live on the same street. And everybody thinks that, like, nothing happened. Like, in quiet suburbia, like, same thing with Desperate Housewives, where, like, it's like, what could happen? And I put off watching Desperate Housewives for, like, the longest time because I was like, how the hell does this show go on for 8 seasons? Like, how can they keep people interested for that long? And then, like, so much shit happens in it. Like so many cover-ups of murders and people get killed. So this was kind of similar. So Cora is basically the main female character, but it takes place from all 3 of their perspectives. And Cora is married to, I forget who, and they have a daughter. I think his name is Douglas. Yeah. And Cora has always been made to feel like she's crazy because she always thinks that Douglas is cheating on her. Turns out that he is, but it's a little bit spoilery, but I kind of had a feeling he did. But he just makes it out like she's crazy. And then the other female main character, I think Georgia is a recluse, and basically everybody thinks that she has like agoraphobia, where you don't want to leave your house because you're afraid to. So the only place that she's allowed to go to, because it turns out that things aren't as they seem with her husband, and that's all I'm going to say, because then it's going to get really spoilery. But they also have a kid. They have a baby. And the only place that she's allowed to go to is like the park, which is like right across the street from their house. And like her husband can like watch her from the window like at all times. So that's her story. But Cora's like so curious about her, you know, because Cora has to know everybody that lives on that street, that she wants to befriend her and talk to her. And she's like, why can't I come over? Like, why can't I like do things with you and blah, blah, blah. So, and then the other female main character is like one of Cora's best friends. But she also like has this obsession with catching Douglas in the act of cheating. So she decides to tell Cora that she's like, I'll help you and pretend that I'm one of his, like, you know, mistresses or whores or whatever. And she's gonna, you know, catch him by, like, filming him and all of that. But she ends up becoming, like, an obsession. And turns out she, like, plants cameras in a lot of people's houses. And that's basically what happened. And then, like, they have to come together in order to figure out what one of their husbands has done in the past. And that's all I'm going to say, because it's going to be so spoilery. So good. I gave this another 4.25 stars. Really, really good. Just really good. You need to read it. Okay, next up, I read a romance because I was deciding that I needed to read something better than The Bookshop of Second Chances. So I decided to read my first Catherine Walsh book, which was How to Write a Love Story. This book was so funny, you guys. Such a fun time. I actually thought this was going to be a 5-star until like 50 or 60% of the way through, because I felt like it took a little too long for them to be together, and it wasn't slow burning the way that Happy Ending was. But this was still a really, really good book. And again, it was fucking hilarious. I'm definitely going to read more of her books, probably around Christmas time, because I really want to read one of her Christmas romances in December. So this is about a woman named Clara and Sierra and Sam. Sam is the male main character. And basically Sierra, she has a really famous author father. And he passes away without ever finishing the series that he's written, that like millions of people love, like kind of similar to like Harry Potter. And she basically has said that she will everybody knows that she's going to write it. It's not like she's a ghostwriter. But she is having like severe writer's block, and also like a severe fear of basically like letting down her readers and letting down like the series and like not giving it like its proper justice of an ending. So in comes Sam, and Sam is like her editor, and he starts living with her because she lives in like this huge mansion, and she doesn't want him there when he first comes in. And it's so goddamn funny the way that he comes to this house. There's like this big hole that's like in the middle of like her yard, because like, you know, she's not really taken care of a lot because like she lives in this huge house. I don't even remember if she has a maid. I think she does. But like she doesn't even supermarket shop. Like, you know, she doesn't go out much because like she's trying to write this book, but like she's, you know, she's stuck. And basically, like, he falls into the hole, and she, like, doesn't want to get him out of there because she's like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? She has no idea who he is. He's like, I'm Sam, I'm the editor. And basically she has to deal with like her father's fans, and sometimes they would like come to the house and try to like get in to like see what she's working on and whether or not the series is ever going to be finished. And it's a little scary, but also like she thinks that he's some like crazed fan, and it was just fucking hysterical. So basically, long story short, he helps her uh edit this book so it can come out so she can finally finish it. And obviously, like, he's like a super fan of her father though, and he's like obsessed with everything that's in her house and like her writing process and everything. But also like he cares so much about these books because he absolutely loves the series, and he just wants to help her like give this series an amazing ending. And obviously they develop a romance because he ends up moving in, and it was just so cute. But it did feel like it was a little bit too similar to Love at First Book, which I had just read last year by Jen McKinley, and it has a similar plot where it takes place in, I believe this takes place in Ireland, and that takes place in Scotland, I think. But also I wish that but the author in that book is dying, and they have no relation to the woman that's helping her write it. So it's a little bit different. But anyway, I wish that they would have went into who Sierra's mother was. She never touched on that. And I was like, did she even have a mother, or was she like completely absent from her life? Because I feel like that would have added a lot more to the story, but I still really enjoyed this book. So again, I gave it another 4.25 stars. It was just really good. Okay, and then next up, I just decided to read 2 books out of the blue. No pun intended. I could go on about this book for a while. Oh my god, we could be here for fucking ever, but we only have 4 books left to talk about. And I decided to read Into the Blue by Emma Brody. And the only reason why I decided to pick up this book sooner rather than later, well, first off, I did buy it from Barnes because I had a gift card from my other friend. And I was like, a lot of people are talking about this book, but also Larry Reeds had just read it. And she was like sobbing. And I was like, I'm kind of in the mood to be heartbroken. And yes, I did cry at the end of this book. It was very sad. So this book is about Noah and AJ. And AJ basically has had a dream of working for SNL like her whole life. And Noah's like an amazing like actor. And they constantly avoid being together, even though they're childhood friends to lovers pretty much. But when they were growing up, they were best friends, but also like they always had this certain like chemistry together that she thought they were going to end up being together. And as soon as like Noah started warming up to the feeling, he just ups and leaves, vanishes without a trace. And she tries to go to his house and see, like, what the fuck is up and what the fuck is going on. And, like, basically his, like, house nurse or housemaid or whatever, I don't remember what she was, she answers the door and she says, like, you're better off and he's gone and you just have to deal with it. So 7 months later, fast forward not 7 months, I think it's 5 or 6 years or 7 years, I can't remember. He shows back up on SNL and she has to like deal with him being there. And that's basically what happens. But like Noah like constantly pushes her away because of what's going on with him. And then when we actually find out why he can't be with her, it's sad. I did cry at that part when he does tell her. But also Noah was so insufferable. And I haven't felt like that about a male. I mean, maybe in Bookshop of Second Chances, but he was less insufferable than Noah. He was probably the most annoying male character I've read about in quite a while, but also I was heartbroken at the end of this book. So, yeah, I definitely shed a few tears. But basically, like, Noah says they can't be together, but then meanwhile, he ends up dating somebody else and is going to marry somebody else, too. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like, why are you avoiding yourself being happy when you could just be with AJ and marry her? So that's basically what happens. I can't say anything else because that's going to completely spoil it. And I thought this book was like a 4.5, a 4.75. But I thought that the writing was absolutely beautiful. There were so many beautiful passages in this book. I think that Emma Brody's a fantastic writer. So I ended up giving it 5 stars for the writing alone, and also the based on the fact that I was sobbing and crying my eyes out at the end. So if a book can do that to me, usually it's a 5 star. Or if the subject matter is just like really dark. Okay, we have 4 books left to talk about. Hold on one second. We are almost done. And they end up working on this show together called Into the Blue. And it's like this sci-fi show that ends up like being similar to like Star Trek. And it has like, it premieres with like such a bang. And then it plummets with the ratings because everybody like doesn't really understand it's like the one of a kind, like it's never been done before. So, I think I'm going to stop though. I'm getting like a little bit burnt out. I might just talk about the last 4 books tomorrow and just post it Friday. But at least I'll have most of it filmed. But that they also work on that project together, and that's when they're like, you know, forced to see each other every day, and then they end up, you know, being together finally. Because she's like, why did you leave? And then he finally explains it to her. So again, 5 stars. So we'll talk about the last 4 books tomorrow. So bye. So hey there, guys. So if you guys hear any background sound, I'm sorry, but they are redoing the crack in my bathtub today. The drilling just stopped, so I'm going to try and take advantage of them not drilling for as long as possible. Because we only have 4 more books to talk about, so we can finally finish filming my wrap-up. So the next book that I read was probably my favorite book that I read in April, and that is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Alona Andrews. You guys, this book just deserves all the hype that it's getting. I feel like it needs to be more hyped though, because I feel like not enough people are reading this book. This book is incredibly funny, and it's just such a funny concept, and I absolutely loved the found family in this book. The side characters were absolutely hysterical, and the female main character, oh my god, I love her so much. So basically, Maggie gets sucked into her favorite fictional world, like literally, and now she's literally living in there. I don't remember exactly how she's able to go into that world and then live in there, but somehow she's able to portal to her favorite fictional world. And what's so fucking funny about this book is that the characters think that she has special powers of being able to tell the future, but it's because she knows what happens in the book. So like all of the side characters like come up to her and say like, what did you see? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like she can't really tell them, like, oh, you're gonna die, you're gonna this, you're gonna that. It was just fucking hysterical. So I don't want to talk too long about this book because I feel like you just need to go into it yourself. But I kind of mood read this too, and like I said, I was kind of just mood reading new releases at the end of April because this was a relatively new release too. And she basically has to save the kingdom, but also she kind of gets do-overs in this world because she really can't die because she's a real character that's not in the book, but she's in her fictional world now, so technically she can't die because she's not in her real world. So I'm very excited to see what happens in the second book. That's why this first book is called This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, because she can't die. So I think it's just fucking hysterical. So basically she has to figure out how she's going to save everybody from the villain in the story. And that's all I'm going to say. And the found family in this book was so well done. And just like the female main character has never really fit into like her, oh my god, why do I keep this on? Sorry. She's never really fit into her world in modern times. It's kind of like similar to Cruel Prince, but that does take place in, well, it does take place in Fae world when they come from the real world. So it is a similar concept, but this is like completely fictional. Like, this is not her real life. And it's just so good. And she has always had like this kind of inner rage that she's never been able to release until she goes into this fictional world. And now she realizes that she has like all of this power that she's able to release, because not that she wanted to kill everybody around her in her real world, it's just that she's never been able to like release this rage because no one was really able to, she never really got close to anyone. So, and she never really had that many true friends. So, yeah, I loved it. It was so good, but you guys really need to read it for yourselves because this book is so fucking good. Okay, then next up, I read probably my second favorite book in April. So I had 3 back-to-back 5 stars with Into the Blue, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, and then of course Mr. TJ Klune's book came out the 28th of April, and that is We Burned So Bright. Oh my god, you guys. This book is so sad. But the way that TJ Klune writes his books is just pure genius. Like, I gave this a 5 stars. This is like the only novella that I've ever rated 5 stars. He's just an incredible author. Like, again, the found family that are in TJ Klune's books is literally unmatched. I don't know how he perfects it, but like, so basically, I actually got the advanced listening copy to this the day before it came out, and I finished it the day after because it's such a short book. I finished it on release day, like 2 hours after that me and my other book bestie went to bars. I finished it like 2 hours after that, and this book was just so beautifully written. And so this was about a gay couple, and their names are Don and Rodney, and basically it follows them throughout a road trip across the country because the world is ending, and they think if they go like evacuate their area, they think that they're going to be safer in another area, but no, the moon is literally burning out and humanity is not going to survive this. So basically it's like a huge what if, like, on how the world would end and like how people would act if, you know, the world was ending. And it was just so wonderfully done. And this does not have a happy ending because the humanity is not going to be saved. Sorry, not sorry, but you pretty much figure that out. I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to figure it out. No, they don't. So basically, like, this movie really reminded me of, like, the, Leonardo DiCaprio, this book reminded me of the Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence movie. I don't know why I always forget the name of it. Sorry if that's loud. Hold on. It's called Don't Look Up. And this was like such a controversial movie when it came out, and like most people didn't like it, but now I see it has a 7.1 on IMDb. I don't know why critics didn't like it. I loved this movie. I thought it was so well done. It was such a good satire of what if the world was actually ending. Because they, like, you know, Jennifer Lawrence was, like, screaming it on the news, and so was Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm pretty sure, that the world was ending, and nobody believed her because everybody was laughing at them. So, like, basically that's similar to what happens in this book, is that at first, no one believes it, and they're like, what if we did this? What if we did that? And then now, since it's truly happening, humanity basically has, like, no choice. So that's basically what happens. There's also some very dark topics that TJ Klune goes into. He talks a lot about adopted children, children with disabilities, and also, gay men and their relationships in his books. So, and usually it's in mostly all of his books, like a lot in House of the Cerulean Sea and Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and basically like embracing, you know, kids' differences, but also like humanity's differences in this book really don't matter because they all, basically at the end of the world, like who cares like how different you are? You're all going to die. So at that point, it's like it's whether or not you're going to die alone. And that's ultimately what life comes down to. So that's always been my mentality where like why does it fucking matter what you look like or the color of your skin when we're all human? So, we're all fucking human. So, anyway, I could tell that TJ Klune was really pissed off writing this book, and he was really pissed off about the current political climate, and I feel like that's exactly why he wrote this book. So, yeah, take with that what you will, but I give it 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. I love how I like look like I have like 5 chins leaning this way, but trust me, I don't. It just looks like I do. I do, just because of the angle I'm sitting at. So, and then also, the gay couple, I always forget their name, sorry. Rodney and Don? Is that what it is? I am like literally, Don and Rodney, yeah, I'm right. They adopt a son, because like it was very hard for them to be able to adopt a child because most agencies won't adopt with gay men or like gay couples in general, which is so fucking ridiculous because like 99% of the time they make better parents than, straight couples that abuse their children, but that's neither here nor there. Like, when do you actually hear about gay men or gay women doing that? You usually hear that about like women, especially that are married to a man that like enable their abuse, but that's neither here nor there because those are the ones that usually get the adopted children and not families that actually want children. But so they end up adopting a mentally disabled, well, not mentally disabled, more so like mentally ill kid, and he has a lot of different issues like schizophrenia, which is, already hard to deal with in itself, and a bunch of other like anger issues and stuff. And when you're reading about what his struggle is, he struggles with drugs, especially. He's like always like trying to find his next um fix because it's the only thing that relieves like his mental pain. It is heartbreaking to read. I was crying so much throughout the last like 30 or so pages of the audiobook. I think it was like maybe just the last, oh my god, can I speak? The second to last chapter and the last chapter. Oh my god, so fucking sad. And then I cried at the end because of like how Rodney and Don are like, yeah, we go together. And I'm just like, oh my god, this was so sad. But like, I don't know. It's like not like a super tragic kind of way. It's just like, what if this did actually happen? Like, it's still heartbreaking to read about, but also like when they're going into the tale of how they dealt with raising their son, oh my god, it was so fucking sad. So, and then oh my god, it wasn't, yeah, it was the next book that I finished. And then the next book that I went into was The Honeybee Cafe by Kay Michaels, and this is like a very unknown book, but this is a sequel to The Autumn Leaf Bookshop, and I really loved that first book. So I really wanted to read the second one, and this also came out on the 28th. It's not even in Barnes, but it's such a good book. And I really love this little cozy fantasy series. So this is about Jasmira and Dominic. And Jasmira basically runs this little honeybee cafe, and she has a daughter. And Dominic has been like basically her best friend for like a long time. But also she had lost her husband. And Dominic was his best friend before her husband dies. And she has basically, not been able to find anyone to be with because obviously she's still, you know, um, getting over the loss of her husband. So Dominic is a werewolf and he, like, constantly visits her, like, makes sure that she's okay, like, seeing what she needs. But they end up falling in love because they have, like, this mating bond together. And it's just, like, so fucking sweet the way that this was done. I really liked this book a lot, so I gave it a 4.25 stars. That's all I'm going to say about it because, like, I just think these books are so, like, so well done that I think, like, everybody should read them. And I think that they're a much better, well done, cozy fantasy series than some of the more popular ones. I just think they're really good. And it was also very funny reading this too. And then the last book that I read, because I'm like, I'm kind of getting a little burnt out talking about all these books and I want to read. The last book that I read was The Paris Match by Kate Claiborne. This book here, the cover's really cute, right? I didn't like this book. And I feel like this book was going to make me fall into a reading slump. But I think it was the book, not me. So this book is about Layla and Griffin. And Layla goes to Paris to go and attend her sister's wedding. And Griffin is like one of like the groomsmen's like best friends. And basically like Layla hasn't been able to find anyone to be with because she got divorced from her ex-husband basically because like she couldn't give him children. And also she like wasn't sure if she even wanted children anymore. So her and Griffin like meet on the plane there. And Layla is actually a doctor. And she has to give like one of the passengers on the plane like medical attention. And Griffin's like so mean to her on the plane about like helping a passenger that like I didn't like it. I was already like turned off by that. I was like, why the fuck is he so like it's not the same as like a grumpy sunshine. Like again, when the man is like too mean to the woman, it turns me off. It's not like, oh, like, like they're pissed off about something in their life and they're like they start making fun of them a little bit, but like in a funny way. It's more so like in a mean way, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not loving Grumpy Sunshine anymore. But basically, so she gets to the hotel, and then she finds out that Griffin is one of the wedding guests. Like, she didn't even know who he was until she gets there. And there were, like, some funny parts of this, but, like, long story short, because, like, I need to stop talking about all these books that I read, because, I need to stop reading so many books every month, because these videos are just too long. So, basically, this is about, like, them, obviously developing a romance, but I felt like it was so insta-love and kind of insta-lusty as well. Because, like, they're already talking about how much they love each other after being in Paris for, like, who knows if it was only, like, a week or so. I'm like, how is it that he already loves her and is already talking about marrying her? I'm like, okay. But also, like, this book, like, got really deeply serious for kind of no reason. Like, he was in like a really bad like house fire like earlier on in like a few years back, and like somebody unfortunately died, and that was like really sad. But also like, why are we getting so serious about a book that's like just supposed to be like a fluffy Paris romance? It just didn't really work for me. I'm like, I really thought we were just gonna read like some cute fluffy destination wedding like Paris romance, and I was like, there were cute moments with them, like with them going into town and with them, being there for each other. That was really, really cute. Like, I had no problem with the romance element in this book, besides, the insta love. I guess I did. But, like, they end up, like, I don't know, getting into, like, this soap opera kind of fest because, like, of course, the couple that they go to celebrate end up not getting married in Paris. So, I don't know. I felt like this book was kind of just all over the place and a little bit messily done. So, I gave it a 3 stars. But I don't know. I did really enjoy the writing, but I felt like it was too long for what it was. And I felt like it was kind of getting dragged out and not really like getting to the core of like what the romance was about. So towards the end of this book, I just wanted it to be over. Like it was okay, but it wasn't like anything to write home about. So that's what it was about. I don't really want to go into it anymore because I don't really care. So yeah, those were all the books that I read in April. What was your favorite book and your least favorite book? So my favorite book, like I said, was This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me and probably Happy Ending. I really loved both of those books. That was definitely my favorite romance I read in April. And then obviously my least favorite book was The O of Golden and then Rights of the Starling and Game On. I should have DNF'd both of them. So please like and subscribe, follow me on my Instagram and also on my TikTok listed in the description box below. And I hope you guys have a great day and keep reading. Bye.